Hello and welcome to Investing Confidential. Well, as the title said, all of this stuff that's going on with the Middle East, I think when you listen to all the talking heads, from one side of the coin you got the forever war people, and then the other side of the coin you got people that don't want to be in any more wars. But at the end of the day, everyone's missing the most important thing. What is the reason? Why would Trump, who is definitely has always been anti-war, why did he bomb Iran? Why is he backing Israel? So not that's 100%. He's backing Israel 1,000%, which kind of doesn't make sense in this current time. This is why there's a break, but I know why. I'm going to tell you why, and not that it's going to be shocking, but if you understand the reasoning behind it, then all of this news will start to make sense. And then I'm going to give you some where you should be putting your money in. It's certainly not in the U.S. So before we start everything, let's go to my favorite thing here, which is the debt clock, because celebration, we just hit 37 trillion on the debt. Our budget deficit is still 2 trillion. And with the maniacs in the, well, not, I have to say, take that back a second. It seems that the Senate is not going to pass this big, beautiful bill. It seems that there are a number of Republicans in the Congress that are backing away from this BBB. And I think the big, beautiful bill may be dead on arrival, which is good because it should be broken up and they should be doing individual things. If that's the case, all of this stuff we're looking at probably will be mute. But the one thing that doesn't make any sense to me is you look at Doge here, and Doge is getting a really bad rap recently, and it's getting a bad rap because the Congress, both Republicans and Democrats, don't care. They don't care, and they've actually found almost $500 million of savings, and nobody wants to codify it. Nobody wants to bring it up. Imagine if we could in this bill we codified the Doge cuts. Then our budget deficit would be 1.5 trillion. It starts to become very interesting. But no, they don't want to do it. They'll never do it. So I'm going to come back to this a little bit, but let's move on to the reasonings. Okay, so look, I mean, this is kind of laughable. Here's the Gulf states fear escalation as the U.S., and Iran strike rattles the region. All this is pure politics, because here's the reason. And just want to mention another thing before I go into it. I mean, this is from a few weeks ago. The betting markets had this right. Again, I'm showing, thank goodness there's betting markets now. You could bet literally on anything. And the betting markets are way ahead of the Wall Street garbage, the government garbage numbers that come out. I mean, everything is worthless. Anything that come out of Wall Street's worthless. Anything come out of the government's worthless. Follow the betting markets, because most likely they're going to tell you where things are going to go. So the betting markets obviously were way ahead of what anyone else in terms of predicting what was going to happen, and it's very interesting. So let's get into it here about what would happen. So think about a month and a half ago. Where was Trump? What was the big thing? Well, Trump was in the Middle East, physically in the Middle East. The first time he went overseas to visit a foreign leader, where was it? It was Saudi Arabia in the Middle East. And what happened there? Think about it. It seems like a year ago, but it was a very short time ago when you had all this celebration. You had Saudi, you had UAE. They were all. They had business leaders. Every big business leader in the U.S. was over in Europe, and they were saying, "Oh, we're going to invest, $1 trillion, $1.5 trillion into the U.S." Everyone pledged. It was a big love fest, and showing all the development and how safe things were. I mean, it was incredible, right? It was really pretty interesting, and Trump loved it. And I guarantee that and then what Trump did something very interesting. Again, you have to understand this in context what's happening today. He basically pardoned, and I'm saying pardon, but he basically, the guy who knocked out the leader of Syria, the family that was running Syria for a long time, which was an Iranian proxy, he was knocked out literally by a terrorist. And everyone's calling this guy a terrorist because he was a terrorist. And so this terrorist is now essentially the leader of Syria. And in the history of the Middle East, in the history of the world, Syria has always been a very, very important strategic place. Whether you're talking about going back to the days of the Crusades, right? And this is kind of a modern day crusade. Syria was the key. Aleppo, these places were the key to everything. Syria was very important for the Crusaders and for the Muslims at that time, who were just scattered all over the place. There wasn't really, any divided country. Syria was the key. So now Syria is run by a former terrorist, and it's been pretty calm. I mean, look, these places will never be democracies. Okay, let's put it this way. Trying to regime change, get democracy, it's insane. It's never going to happen. Historically, again, you got to be a historian to know that it's never going to happen. But that's the fact. So Syria is now run by this guy who's a former terrorist, and he's being protected, being funded by Saudi. So what did Trump do during the Saudi visit? He basically said, "Hey, we're going to open up diplomatic, and this guy's now pardoned. He's now part of the world," which for Syria is huge because no more trade sanctions, all of this. He can now bring in diplomats. I mean, it is a big thing for Syria. Now, we don't know what this guy's going to do. Is he still a terrorist? Not a terrorist? We don't know. But you got to give him some kudos that Saudi's backing him. Because, again, I'm going to bring all this together, but at the end of the day, what does Saudi want? Okay, Saudi wants a calm Middle East. Saudi wants business. Saudi wants not just to pledge $1 trillion to the U.S. Saudi wants people to pledge money to them. Saudi wants people to accept their money as legitimate investment. Saudi wants calm. They don't want any more wars. They're tired of it. They're too rich. When you get rich, you're tired of it. And Saudi also has probably, by far, the most, and I would say even as good as the Mossad, if not better, security services in the Middle East, because they're an insider, right? The secret police of Saudi are vicious. They're everywhere. They're places that Israel can't even go. And I guarantee they share insights. And they'll never say it, but it's obvious. So here's my point. Trump makes all these deals. Saudi, Qatar, UAE, they don't want any more problems. They don't want terrorism anymore. They're done with it. They're too rich. They're done with it. And the only thing standing in the way of our calm Middle East is not Iraq. It's not Syria anymore. It's not Afghanistan. It's not Al-Qaeda. It's Iran. And Iran has been the funding source for Hamas, for whoever it is, the Houthis, whatever it is. And it's not just me. They outwardly say they're funding these and they're funding them more than ever now because obviously Joe Biden, and again this is not political, gave them $45 billion, and they're able to start up their operations again. When Trump left, they were almost destitute. They had no money for these other organizations, and then Joe Biden opened up the spigot, and now they're back. But you have to separate the government, which is the biggest problem with everything in this world, but in Iran it's a big problem, and the people of Iran. But I'm getting away from. So what's happening? Saudi is behind all of this. Okay? Period, end of story. Saudi is sharing intelligence with Israel. Saudi is sharing intelligence with the U.S. There's no doubt in my mind. They'll never say it, but it's obvious. And it's smart. They need Iran to be muted. They need Iran to never have a nuclear weapon. They need Iran to be, I don't know, Iraq, decimated and just, a third world country that will never make any kind of issues again, because they want calm. They want people to come to the Middle East. They want things. They want things calm. They don't want this anymore. They want sports. They want investment. They want venture capital. They want Bitcoin. They want everything. That's good what's happening in the financial world. And again, this all has to do with money. This is why I'm talking about it, folks. This has nothing to do with politics. This is money. It's all money. So, when you see these things that the Gulf states are worried, I mean, they have to say things, but in the end, it's all about money, and money for the Middle East is oil. And this is an article that came out prior to everything. That the bottom line is that the global oil supply is larger than demand. Okay, and it's big. This is why today, over the weekend, I don't know if you saw this, but over the weekend, a lot of these Wall Street morons, Deutsche Bank and Goldman Sachs guys, oil's going to go to 130, it's going to double, and all these guys talking about oil prices going here and there. Oil prices are down today, folks. Now, certainly, if Iran is able to, block Hormuz, which it's not going to be able to, but if they did, sure they would. But that's not what the markets are telling you. The futures market, liquidity, like the betting markets, is what you should look at. You don't listen to the talking heads. You don't listen to them. They're fools. Wall Street, they're fools. The people on CNBC, CNN, Fox, they're just fools. They don't know what they're talking about. They have no clue. Because as I told you, this whole thing is being puppeted. The Saudis are the puppeteer. Israel is a puppet. The U.S. is a puppet, believe it or not. Okay? And so does Saudi want higher oil? Sure. But $100 oil, Saudi makes a lot of money. They have too much money as it is. They want stability. They don't want volatility. So the bottom line is the oil markets, okay, are going to settle down to where they should be. Now, by the way, this strike is a big problem for Trump. Huge problem for Trump. Massive problem. But right now, he's got no choice because the Saudis want stability. And they need the U.S. to mute Iran. And that's what the U.S. is doing. Okay? So whenever any headline comes out going forward, think about what I told you. Think about from the Saudi perspective. How does this benefit Saudi? How does this benefit the UAE? And that's how you'll understand. I use this word a lot, but this Iran thing, the political thing, it's all a sideshow because this is about Saudi and the future of the Middle East. Now, I may be totally wrong. I may be whacked out of my mind, but I think I'm right on this one. So let's talk about how's this affecting investments. Okay, one thing that it isn't affecting is this. It's not stopping this. This keeps going up and up and up, and it's not stopping this. There was a little blip higher after this, but the dollar, the worst performance in decades coming out of the year, and it's continuing. Again, it's not a straight line because it's popped recently because every time there's turmoil, but look, it's the worst performance, and this is going to we are in a weak dollar scenario. Okay, and there's nothing really anyone could do about it because the U.S. government has to sell $10 trillion in debt, $10 trillion in new debt over the next 12 months. There was an auction last week that nobody talked about that failed essentially because nobody wanted to buy. They wanted higher prices. This is going to continue to happen. But there is a solution for the U.S. government I'm going to talk about in a second. But it's a big problem. It's a major problem because global investors now used to be able to, invest in U.S. debt, hedge on their currency, and make money. No longer possible because of the dollar. They can't invest in bonds anymore. There's no demand from foreigners, very little demand. And as I spoke about, you could do a search on one of my videos about financial repression. We are in a financial repression. What does that mean? That means that the U.S. is going to be able to sell their debt. It's not going to be at low prices. And you know who's going to buy it? You. Indirectly through J.P. Morgan, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and everyone else, because there are no foreigners, and this is Japanese style, no foreigners want to buy the debt. And there's one other thing that Besson is counting on, and it's this: stablecoin. Laugh if you want to, but stablecoin is within weeks is going to be the largest buyer of U.S. Treasuries in the world by far. So why do you think the Congress passed stablecoin regulation? We have no choice. They're not going to say it out loud, but stablecoin is the only thing that's going to allow the U.S. government to sell $4 trillion in bonds to support this money printing and this insane spending that we do. That's it. So it's going to happen. It'll be stablecoins. It'll be Bank of America. It'll be J.P. Morgan. It'll be you. You. Because China, Japan, Europe want nothing to do with our bonds. And by the way, neither does hedge funds. They don't want it to do. So, ergo, now we talk about investments. Okay, this is gold for 25 years. If you own gold versus stocks, you crushed it. Everyone talk, oh, the S&P this, the S&P that. The S&P is garbage compared to gold. Garbage. 25 years. So this is why Bitcoin is moving higher and will continue to move higher. Because stocks, they're up today, who cares? Doesn't matter anymore. And your friends in Wall Street want to fool you. Like, this is their forecast for the S&P. They're telling you the S&P is going through the roof. Going to keep going up. Keep buying. Don't worry, keep buying. And yet, if you just bought gold, you'd outperform everything. But Wall Street is manipulative. Wall Street wants you to put money in the S&P because guess what? As I told before, they were expecting a big IPO boom and not getting it. There's been some recently, but they're not getting it. And now SPACs are booming, right? Now, that's not Wall Street. SPACs is like the underbelly of Wall Street. People are bypassing the IPO market and just going public through SPACs. So Wall Street's taking on the chin again. And they're telling you to buy the S&P when that's not what's cheap. That's not what's not going to make you money. Okay? What's going to make you money for the next 5 years is non-U.S. stocks, especially emerging markets. Have you looked at Brazil? Have you looked at Argentina? Have you looked at Mexico? Have you looked at China recently? Have you looked at Chile? These markets have, South Africa? These markets have beaten the U.S. handily after being smashed for 12 years. So it's been there's been a bear market, U.S. versus the world for 15 years, 12, 15 years. It's over now. It's over. So EM is the place to be. We talked about, I have videos on Brazil. I have videos on Argentina. Look at my videos. I'm going to do one on Brazil soon again because Brazil is becoming very interesting. And to finalize this, if there's one stock that could be really interesting, I don't know how you guys can buy it, but if you have Charles Schwab or one of these, either El Toro, one of these guys, you may be able to buy Saudi Aramco. If not, buy the Saudi ETF, where Saudi Aramco is the biggest holder. Okay, Middle East stocks are killed because of this. Saudi Aramco with the oil prices is printing money. As I told you, you want to be where the Saudis are because they're pulling all the strings here. Okay, they're pulling all the strings, and all the rhetoric you're hearing, take a step back when you watch the news and say, what's good for Saudi? That's what's going to happen. What's good for Saudi? They knock out Iran's ability to control the airwaves, okay, and knock out their ability to be terrorists and threaten people with nuclear bombs. That's what's happened already. Iran's air force is gone. Okay, that's good. How many more bombs can they? They're running out of bombs too. They're throwing thousands of bombs at Israel. Some are getting through, most are not. Now they're trying to bomb one of the U.S. air bases. They had no success. They're toast. Militarily, Iran is toast. All they have is terrorism, and they're going to ramp that up for sure. But Iran as a military power is done, and this is what Saudi wants. Okay, are the U.S. done bombing Iran? I have no idea. Is Israel done? No, because Saudi wants total annihilation of the military complex that is Iran, hoping that the Iranian people, the opposition, which is most of the country, 80% of the country's opposition to the Revolutionary Guard and the powers that be, maybe there's a change. We don't know. But bottom line is that when you hear all of this stuff, if you want to understand it, think about, what do the Saudis want? What will the Saudis do? That's the key to understanding what's going on. So investors, as always, be careful. Liquidity is very tight. Long-term, emerging markets is the only place to be right now. It's going to have a boom over a big outperformance over the next 5 years at least. But if you're investing in the S&P and U.S. stocks, you make your money, but be very, very careful out there.